Today, we're going to be talking about what minimalism is and why your perception of it is wrong. Part 1. Minimalism started out as an art style that mainly focused on shapes and blank spaces and their integration with each other, but has slowly evolved over time into different aspects of your life, whether it be fashion, interior design, or movements based on how much stuff a person can own. The disparity between people who have owned a lot and who own a little has always been large, but now, in this current day and age, it is not necessarily just a financial disparity. It is a disparity of choice. The amount you own doesn't necessarily correlate to the value of what you own. If you are a hoarder who wants to collect trash, you would own a lot, but its value is very subjective to you. Whereas if you are a minimalist who only collects high-end, very expensive pieces, you will have less, but the value will be more. Now, the internal value, that is up for debate. But for the external value and minimalism itself, that's all you need. A little bit of stuff with a lot of value to you. The current perception of minimalism in fashion is rooted by people who think it is bland, people who are only looking at the beiges, the browns, the grays, and seeing them together and thinking that modern age is destroying the art of the 50s and 60s. And a lot of that is coming from trends online that we're seeing on TikTok of these people who are going and renovating these homes that were built in the time where it was yellow kitchens mixed with a green living room. And once you go up the stairs, you are going to hit the purple kids' room, and everything has a decorative wallpaper, and all of that being taken off for more whites, creams, and beiges and more modern styles. But that is not true minimalism. That can be a modernist take on minimalism, but minimalism in itself just has to do with quality, quantity, and value to yourself. Part 2. Minimalist fashion does not equal less clothes, but it can. Minimalist fashion just describes the clothes you are wearing on yourself. It does not necessarily have to describe your closet in its entirety. It can include the browns, beiges, creams, and all of that, but minimalism can take its form in any way you want it to. Let's take, for example, the woman who only wears green in New York. She has become famous for her minimalist fashion, just wearing green. Now, someone would look at her and see that that is a lot of color, that she might be wearing a lot, but that in itself is minimalist fashion when it comes to color. Yes, she is wearing a lot most of the times, and it is a lot of stacked layers, and that necessarily isn't minimalism, but the color theory of itself is. It truly limits what you're able to buy, and it's able to limit what you are able to do with your clothes. And limitation in life is the father of invention. Now, on the other side of that, you could have very little in your closet, but you could have a lot of different types and styles and colors of clothes. You, on the other hand, would be minimalist when it comes to material goods. An often forgot about aspect of minimalism is less stuff can equal more options. When you were thinking about it, if you were looking at, let's say, a Kardashian's closet, it's huge, the size of some people's houses. But even though they have all of those options of things to wear, they have less option than you actually think. As humans, when we are given the opportunity for choice, the decision gets harder. And when you have too many choices, it can fog your vision, leading to the illusion of less options when you have more than enough. Whereas if you have less clothing, you are actually way more likely to reinvent yourself and choose new options of outfits with what you have, because you are now limited in your creativity. And again, limitation is what fosters the best creativity in life. If someone tells you to draw something for them, you're going to ask them questions. You're going to be like, okay, what style do you want? Do you want it to be an animal? If an animal, what kind of animal? Do you have a color you want it to be? Anything like that. You immediately start having to ask all of these questions to try and figure out a way to get towards something that you know you'll like and they will like in tandem. Whereas if you are presented with less options in the beginning, you can immediately let your mind go into creativity and start flowing. So if the person asks for a drawing of a green dog wearing a hat, you could very easily just draw a green dog wearing a hat. But there is still the option of what kind of dog, what kind of hat, because no matter how little you have, you will always still have choices. It's just the amount of choice you have that changes with the amount of clothes and options that you are presenting yourself. Part 3. How to style minimalism. Now, there are many different ways you can go about this. You can do pattern pairing, texture matching, same color, different shades, same color throughout. You can literally wear the same thing every day and have 15 options that are the exact same and just make that your style. Now let's break each one of those down, and we'll start with pattern pairing. This is one that can seem like a daunting task for most because pairing, especially mismatched patterns, is a hard thing to achieve and achieve it well without it looking messy. The best way to go about this is to start with a piece that you love. Let's say it's a plaid shirt. Now you can see that there is horizontal patterns, there is vertical patterns. You are now choosing what kind of short you want to wear. If you want the shirt to be a statement piece, you can go with a solid color for the short. You can match the color of the base of the shirt. You can match the color of either of the stripes of the shirt. Or you can look at a little bit of color theory and match an opposite of one of the colors. Let's say that you are doing a yellow and red plaid shirt. You can do a complementary color to it and do an orange, or you can do a color like purple, whereas it will go. But once you choose to do something on the complete opposite side of the color wheel, you then have to pay more attention to tone, because if you are making such a dramatic statement, tone then becomes incredibly important because you have to match something. And if you aren't choosing to match any of the colors, choosing to match the tone then becomes what you're grabbing onto. Let's say you're doing a polka dot pair of shorts. You can choose a plain color shirt to go with it that matches either the polka dot or the base color. Or if you're trying to truly match a pattern, what you can do is you can pick out a striped shirt that has the opposite base than the shorts and an opposite accent of the shorts. Those would go. But let's say you're doing a polka dot shirt with your polka dot shorts, and you do a red and yellow polka dot on the top and a purple and green polka dot on the bottom. Those would also go, but it would be much harder to style them with anything else, because once you have introduced 4 colors into the mix, you now have to truly be very diligent with what you're wearing for your socks and your shoes and your accessories, and if you're wearing a hat, because it can get too busy very fast. At that point, if you wore a black sock and a black shoe and adding in solids whenever you want to have a pattern there, or multiple patterns to ground the entire outfit, will do wonders in minimalist fashion. Now throwing into there texture matching. Texture matching is an often slept on, but my personal favorite way of dressing minimalist. Let's say you wanted to wear an outfit that is entirely one color for each item, and you want to mix it up a little bit. So let's say you wear a suede jacket with a rib knit shirt underneath, with a linen pant, with a patent leather shoe, and a tweed hat. All of those things are just fabric types and textures. They will look completely different on the body. They will all catch light differently. They will cast different shadows. But even if they were all the same color, they would all be incredibly identifiable as their own things. So being able to choose different textures and style them together is a huge part of being able to make a bunch of different looks with very little variation, either in color, style, size, and still make it look amazing altogether, which is the hardest thing in minimalist fashion, making things look intentional. But you could even do an entirely blue outfit and then work with the different textures, work with different patterns, and all together you could put something together that has 7 different shades in it but still look very, very cohesive. The thing that you need to pay attention to when it comes to color is the rule of threes, where you want to have at least 3 different shades. The exception to this rule is when you are wearing 2 different colors. If you are wearing a blue and a yellow outfit and you have 2 different shades of blue and 2 different shades of yellow and everything else is consistent on the outfit, that then becomes a choice because you have a matching 2. You can almost treat dressing yourself as if you were playing poker. The better the hand, the better the outfit. A pair of 4s is much better than a pair of 3s, which is much better than a pair of 2s. Anyone can have a pair of 2, but having 4 of a kind is a really rare and really cool sight to see. Part 4. Personal identity through clothes. This is what set me down my path towards minimalism. I wanted to be able to be recognizable to everyone that has ever seen me. I wanted to have a brand that follows me without me saying a word. I can walk into a room and everyone knows it's me by my appearance alone. I wear only black and white, I have this eyebrow slit, and I'm pretty tall. And all of those things add together to create a personal brand for me that follows me everywhere I go. I have been told multiple times that I am really easy to spot in a crowd because of how stark my clothing is and how defined of a person I am. And again, going back to the woman in New York only wearing green, she is now incredibly recognizable. You don't have to have any idea of what her face looks like. You see a woman in that shade of green and you are going, that's her. That can help entirely, especially if you are a person who's starting out in your career and you're wanting to go and meet a lot of different people, but you want to be memorable to them, especially if you're going to events where there's a bunch of people there. You are going to go and you're going to want to stand out. And one of the best ways to do that is through your clothing. Joy Alexander just recently made a video about the 7 levels of fashion. This is an amazing video and I would highly suggest that you go and watch it because it's sort of pointing to what I'm saying without focusing on minimalism entirely. It is more focusing on the level of recognizability and the level of refinement in one's presentation and their closet. And although it isn't minimalist entirely, it gets you on the right page very quickly about things in more depth than I'm going to talk about them here. Because this is just a wide scoping video to get you to understand the pros of minimalism in a way that you haven't before. And there is a lot of individuality that can be obtained through repetition. Once you are seen as this person that has this reputation of wearing this style of clothing, of wearing this color of clothing, of being this personality of person, it will follow you. And you want that reputation to be good, and you want it to be concise, and you want it to be a good representation of your personality and yourself. And I think that minimalism is the best way to do that, through fashion. And finally, part 5. Transition to minimalism. I made the transition at first because it was the best of both worlds to me. I was buying too much clothing, and I wasn't that recognizable in a sea of people who were all trying to do the same thing as me. So I chose to do something stark. I chose to make everything I own black and white. Not only did it help with my branding of myself, but it also helped me in a financial aspect. I was able to only buy things that I thought would enhance my brand, would add a very stark element, or a lot of basics that I could layer with the individual elements that would then make my style pop to those around me. It was truly one of the best decisions that I made, and one that I think I will carry with me for the rest of my life. The transition was not easy, and it took me years, and I'm still not 100% there with everything that I own. But all of my fashion that is outward presenting is black and white and is simple in pattern. So I, through years, have finally been able to accomplish that. It is not something that you want to try and adapt very, very quickly, because if you do that, then your pieces will look cheap. You will not sort of be able to understand the style of which you are trying to achieve. You might choose one of those options of color, texture, style, and not pay attention to others. And when you're not paying attention to the others, they can fall through the cracks. And when they fall through the cracks, you end up spending all this time and money on something that you aren't loving. And you need to love what you look like. And clothes are just the caveat for that. All in all, I can't make you transition to minimalism. I can just present you with the facts and the ways of which it has helped me in my life, and the ways of which you can do it the best. But you have to choose this for yourself. And I wish all of you the best if you so choose to go down the path of minimalist fashion. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.